Protected health information under U.S. law is any information about health status, provision of health care, or payment for health care that is created or collected by a covered entity and can be linked to a specific individual. These items are information related to health care that you do not want to have released. Your name, address, all geographic subdivisions smaller than state, including street, city, county, and zip code. All elements except years of dates related to an individual, including birth date, admission date, discharge date, date of death, and exact date if you're over 89. Telephone numbers, fax number, email address, and of course, your social security number and medical record number, your health plan beneficiary number, and your account number, certificate or license number, even vehicle identifiers and serial numbers, including license plate numbers, device identifiers, and serial numbers, web URLs, internet protocol addresses, finger or voice prints, photographic images that are not just of your face, and any other characteristic that can uniquely identify the individual. Did you know that any health-related information is also protected 50 years after death? So we don't want to give this out almost at any time. Personal health information is regulated by the Office for Civil Rights. They put in place the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, known as HIPAA, in 1996. HIPAA does the following. It provides the ability to transfer and continue health insurance coverage for millions of American workers and their families when they change or lose their jobs. It reduces healthcare fraud and abuse. It mandates industry-wide standards for healthcare information on electronic billing and other processes. And most importantly, HIPAA requires protection and confidential handling of protected health information. Now, payment card industry, known as PCI, might be more easily understood that this is sensitive and valuable data that should be protected. PCI is an information security standard for organizations that handle branded credit cards. Like right now, if you have a credit card, or perhaps your mobile account you use for charging purposes, would you give a stranger your credit card number? How about your PIN? Would you email around your account number? You probably wouldn't freely give information out like that, which is exactly why it needs to be protected whenever we're using it. And these include elements such as the cardholder name, service codes, expiration account data, sensitive authentication data, and even your full magnetic strip data, as well as radio frequency identification and PIN numbers. Your job then is to keep this PCI data safe. Don't share it out. When purchasing online, make sure it's a protected site. Look for the HTTPS websites as well as the security lock icon in your browser. Now be mindful where you give your physical card, as criminals who go after credit cards put scanners on actual card devices and use radio frequencies to scan your card for information. And watch all transactions with all accounts. Ensure that purchases always align with approved transactions on your account, and call your financial institution at the first sign of suspicious purchases or activities. The Criminal Justice Information Services, or CJIS, protects private or sensitive information gathered by local, state, and federal law enforcement. These types of information include things like fingerprints, criminal background information, copies of private documents, and PII information. These are other forms of protected information that you would not want to give out to anyone without official need. Federal tax information, or FTI elements, also include PII, PCI, PHI elements, as these types refer to things like tax information, note holder tax identification information, annual business survey, informational and computational material, federal contract information, income tax returns, basic user information, as well as transaction and general private information. Federal tax information is regulated by the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, which has created Publication 1075 to outline tax information and security guidelines for federal, state, and local agencies on taking safeguards for protecting federal tax returns. All your tax data is private and should only be shared with legitimate parties for legitimate business reasons. Legitimate reasons for sharing your tax return might include applying for a loan, opening a new financial account, or they may even be pulled for a background check. Although, if you do have to share your tax return, you should never do it via email or on social media or in a shared location that's accessed by non-financial or others that don't need to have access to this information. Social Security Administration data revolves around three components of Social Security: retirement, disability benefits, and survivor benefits. All of these can contain data elements of sensitive data types. Again, these are forms of protected information that you wouldn't want to give out to anyone without official need. Social Security data is regulated by the Privacy Act of 1974. This is a federal law that governs our collection and use of records we maintain on individuals in a system of record. A system of record is any grouping of information about an individual under the control of a federal agency, from which information is retrievable by personal identifiers such as name, social security number, or other identifying number or symbol. Under the Privacy Act, federal agencies may not disclose information without consent unless certain exceptions apply to this disclosure. The Privacy Act provides protections to individuals in three primary ways. It provides individuals the right to request the records, the right to request a change to the records that are not accurate, relevant, timely, or complete, and the right to be protected against unwarranted invasion of their privacy, resulting from the collection, maintenance, use, and disclosure of their personal information. So what would you do if you received an official request to release employee records or data to another organization? Now, the request came in with a signed consent form by the individual to release the records. You're correct, in this case, to release the records. Official requests from trusted authorities with signed release consent allows the release of information. However, only the information consented to should be released. Don't release anything else. Any additional requests require additional consent for those data elements. When in doubt, simply look up the requesting organization and call them directly to confirm the need for the request and exactly which information is requested. Even though knowing that as an employee of the state, you don't necessarily have direct or system access to all these types of data, it's good to know that potentially somewhere on the network, this data exists in some form or fashion. Therefore, if you're connected to the network, you are potentially subject to these data governing audits and regulations. Being an employee of the state, it's good to understand the different types of data just in case something does happen, and remembering to always report suspicious activity. Remember daily to protect files if they contain sensitive data elements. Send or share data only if it's required for official use and only using secured means. Use multi-factor authentication whenever possible, especially when accessing information systems. And keep those systems and software up to date and patched. Never share credentials, including usernames, passwords, or PIN numbers. And don't disable any endpoint protections or security setups by your organization. They're there to protect you. And report any data exposure or suspicious activity immediately. So look around you. What types of data do you use daily on a computer, on your smartphone and tablet, or even on your home smart devices? Every one of these is an opportunity where if the data isn't secured, you could expose yourself, your organization, and even your family to security breaches. So it's up to you to be aware and keep the data secure.